to the How to Spark Success show. I'm your host, Liz Hamlet, and I'm a success coach and business mentor, and I'm also founder of Spark Succeed. And this is a podcast where I gather guests from around the world who have done really amazing things, who are savvy business owners, and I've got a really interesting story to share with you. So today I've got a fantastic guest all the way from the US. He is a relentless campaigner for people with disabilities. He's the owner of a graphic design business, a hip hop artist, an ambassador for the D-Man Foundation, and also founder of Inspire Brands. So I'd love you to welcome with me, Eric Patrick Thomas. How are you, Eric?
I'm well. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
I'm almost tired out with all the things that you're doing.
I know. There's more too, but I try to keep it where I can just say kind of keep it simple, short, instead of having the laundry list, and I also do this and this. It's just go to my bio.
We can find out a bit more today. So, I was really interested. We got connected through the Podbooker website, and I was really interested to speak to you because you're just doing so much. And I was interested in your story as well. How you got to sort of be where you are today. So, do you want to tell us a bit about you, about your story, and how you got to where you are today?
Growing up as a child, I always liked wordplay. I like rhyme time and wordplay, and that starts at Mother Goose and Dr. Seuss. So I'm 43 now. So when I was little, my mom would read books, read Mother Goose and Dr. Seuss and other rhythm, rhyme time books and stuff. So I always just had a passion for rhythm and words and connections and stuff. The other thing is that my aunt, I think she stayed with us in the basement, or maybe it was my uncle. It's hard to remember, but my mom's sister and my mom's brother. Well, my aunt, she was the musical person, so all these musicals, like Mary Poppins or Sound of Music, Music Man, you name it. It was cool to see people move on camera, but then use music into describing what their actions are. It was a different form, and I thought that was cool. Music Man is one of my favorites, the original. The original. And then my uncle was the 80s music person, heavy metal person, and my mom more diverse, from Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Rod Stewart, Eric Clapton. I was named after Eric Clapton because my name's Eric Patrick Thomas.
Wow.
So when they were trying to figure out my name, they named me after Eric Patrick Clapton.
Oh, amazing.
So it must be how music has always been a passion of mine. And then of course my parents got divorced right before I was 2. So when I'm speaking on my childhood, I'm at my mom's house.
Yeah.
Because I stayed with her, and then I went to my dad's every 2 weeks on the weekend. So and he had his music too, but we're speaking and living at my mom's, where I'm getting inspired or learning from there. Then there was just growing up with what else did I find a passion with? Just music for sure. I always liked how things were branded, campaigns,
Yeah.
how people advertised. I always paid attention and I analyzed it. I would look at the cereal box when I was eating food and be like, why did they do that there and they did that there? Or why, not really realizing what I was doing at that time. But it was something I would notice. I would always notice things like that, or watching the commercials and how they were selling cereal on a Saturday morning to us. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. That's the, cookies, a cereal of nothing but cookies, or something, and the gimmicks and the characters that they used. And then just, growing up, we moved around a lot. So trying to find like that stability. I had some anger issues, probably stems from the divorce, I would think, maybe. My mom worked a lot too. Um, she worked fast food for
Yeah.
Burger King, and my dad worked at Myers. It's a grocery store,
Yeah.
a grocery chain. And so yeah, we moved a lot, and it was like I could always like make friends wherever I had to go. So I had to adapt,
Yeah.
like survival adapt, fit in where I could fit in. And then we moved from Flint to well, we had to move in with my grandma.
Mm.
So that was the other thing. My mom was real close to her mother, my grandma. So my grandma would actually babysit me too. So I was left with grandma a lot. And so we had to move in with her. And then I started elementary at another elementary school. It was just like, and then before you know it, I'm going to a psychiatrist for my anger issues. Um, childhood, childhood was good. There was problems, but there was a way that I always found happiness. Like if you talk to people, they'll say you're a happy child, but you just had issues,
Yeah.
you know. And then I remember I was probably in what, fourth grade, fifth grade,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Nintendo came out, the video game system, and that was like my first entrepreneur type of business. So basically, what I did, because there was a video store that was across the street, I used to like analyze and like pay attention to how the VHS and the beta tapes and the late fees and everything and how it was labeled
Yeah.
and set up. So I did this with my Nintendo games. So basically, I started renting my Nintendo games out to the neighborhood kids, and then I was able to build my collection. I mean, I had it all written down on a notebook, the name of the game, what happens if you don't return it on time, how much it's going to cost you, what if it's damaged, or all this stuff. And I don't remember the name of the business, but that's how I built my collection. And then, of course, I learned other stuff like out snowing, snow shoveling, mowing lawns,
Yeah.
odd jobs, whatever it was. My mom would always teach me that I had to earn money to be able to get the things that I wanted, like a BMX bike,
Yeah.
skateboard. I got allowance, but there was, allowances are going to buy you a bike. It's going to take a long time to raise their money for that. And then of course, and then I started working for our newspaper.
Yeah.
So I was a newspaper, paper boy is what they call them. So then I started learning about getting the paper in the morning, rolling it up, putting it in the bags, going through the neighborhood, delivering it. And then after you deliver it, you had this little booklet you had to go collect. So you had to go collect the money from the people that were, purchasing the paper. You learned a lot from that. You learned about people would give you excuses, like my checkbook's in the other car, or I didn't get paid this week. And I'm just a kid, just trying to get my money from the paper that you're taking that I deliver every day to you in the morning at that. So those were some other kind of business, experiences that I was learning. I was building this like learning,
Yeah.
as I was going. And then music came back in play. And I was watching TV and MTV was on, and there was a thing called Fab Five Freddy. And he introduced us to the world of hip hop on television. So it's Fab Five Freddy. It was the first hip hop rap show besides Soul Train that had rap artists on there.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow. And I was like, here's this Run DMC and LL Cool J. And it was amazing. And then Beastie Boys came out, and it was like, I want to do this. I want to write lyrics. I want to rap. I want to get into this. So I'm still in elementary, And then like, so some of the neighborhood kids, so we started writing our own rap lyrics, and then having like, performances with, like a microphone, but it's not like a big performance, it's just like we're mocking what we're seeing on TV, what to do. And then we start wrestling because we were watching WWF too at the same time. So we go from hip, we go to rapping, and then go into like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, all in one day, and then ride on our BMX bikes. So yeah, so hip hop was real big. I saw it and I was like, I'm gonna do this. So even from elementary to middle school to high school,
Yep.
I was continuously writing lyrics and making music with friends that throughout that time. Several different groups, solo projects, different things. Still didn't get to a recording studio until high school.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, I mean, I just stuck with it. And then I was in middle school, got into some trouble a little bit. Got caught joyriding vehicles with a group of kids.
Yeah.
We used to go out every night, and that didn't go well. Got arrested, and I remember going home and seeing the look on my mom's face, and I did not want to ever see that look again, of being in the handcuffs and explaining that I've been sneaking out every night with my friends and creating mischief, So from there, we I had to do a lot of odd jobs. Like it wasn't community service; it was our own service that we did because nobody pressed charges. So anybody that we ever took their car, we were doing. Our group was helping them like carry groceries, mowing yards, whatever it was. And then that was seventh grade.
Yeah.
And then eighth grade came, and my mom was going to get met a person, and who's my stepdad now, Bob. And then she got married. So on to another school, on to another place. And so here we are. I'm starting high school at a different area, a different location. It's more a suburb instead of Flint. And there was no stability there. It was tough.
Yeah.
Because the kids that were there, their parents went to school there. So it was like generation after generation. And the type of stuff that I like, they were not liking it. Like they had their own mind. It was very closed-minded. Like if you like this, you only like this, and if you like anything else, you're kind of outcasted. So I found other people that were like-minded and outcasted like me. We all found each other. And then of course while we found each other, I got introduced to skipping school.
Yeah.
By some high school teen girls. They said, "Hey, Eric, want to skip school with us?" And I was like, "What's that?" "You just leave school with us. You hang out with us all day." And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I started skipping school, and I failed classes. I was tardy in school. I had 72 tardies. I had to go to Saturday school.
Yeah.
So not only was I going to school and skipping, I also started going to Saturday school. But at the same time, still doing music, just kind of finding myself. And then I started working.
Yeah.
I worked at Burger King. I got hired in on a Whopper sale, 99-cent Whopper sale. Fast food, man, is hard. Fast food is anybody that works fast food, you're gonna learn some skills there. That's a difficult job. Fast food and making 99-cent Whoppers was really hard. But I started working there with co-op through the school. And then I started working at Kenny Rogers Roasters Chicken. And then my friend owned a pager shop. So I started doing pagers and doing pager accounts. So I was learning telecommunications. And then I don't know, I stayed out of trouble for the most part. I got into my tiffs and things like that. But then my junior year, I started going to a trade school called the Genesee Skills Center. And that's where I learned photography and graphic design and printing. And then then my senior year came, and I got to go back to that school because I would go there for half the day and then go back to the high school for the rest of the half. And then I also started working for the school store. So it's kind of cool. Like the teachers started seeing that I actually had some really responsibility and I had potential. They were like, this guy isn't just a bad, like he's really actually pretty good. Like, once they started to actually realize that I just learned different. There was just things about me. So I'm working for the school store. So I learned how to run a retail or basically like a supermarket, but chips and candy and pops and stuff like that. But how to balance it, the cash register and everything. And then I was going back to skill center, and then the teacher said, "What are you gonna do when you graduate?" And he said, "You gonna go to college?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to college. I'm like school." He was like, "You can go to, you like photography?" I'm like, "I love photography." He was like, "We can go to college for that." I thought he was like just messing with me, but like he was serious that you could really go to college for photography. So he brought in the Art Institute of Pittsburgh and Lansing Community College. They looked over my portfolio, and I almost went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, but I decided to go to Lansing Community College because it's like 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
In case I failed. And then before you know it, I made that decision to go to college. I waited for my roommate that was going to live with me, Ryan.
Yeah.
He was going to Flint Northern, so I had to wait for him to graduate. And then in '96, we're heading to Lansing to go to photography school. And I was working at Myers at the time too as a grocery stocker.
Yeah.
Go figure. I go work at both the companies that my parents work at, but I said I'd never do. And then I got Ryan a job at Myers because I transferred. And then so we were going to the same school, living in the same house, working the same job. So we stayed. We didn't have too many fights, doing all the same stuff all the time, but we started clashing a little bit. And then we started meeting other people in the city. We started going to the clubs.
Yeah.
That's where we started meeting lots of people. Then we started having after parties at our house.
Yeah.
And then one night after the club, we met a guy named Big Perm. He was rapping at the party, freestyle rapping. We wanted to do a song with him. Ryan and I already found a studio that we were recording when we got there. And we told him, "Hey, we record music. You ever been to a studio?" He's like, "No, I'm just a party rapper. I just freestyle." So we was like, well, "Let's do a song together." So he came over the next day, and we, talked and freestyled and stuff. And then we decided we were gonna do a song together. So I scheduled the studio time.
Yep.
We go into the studio. We're only supposed to do one song. We come out 3 songs later, and we come back to the house. We're like, "Man, we should be a group." We were all thinking it.
Yeah.
So we open up it was either the thesaurus or the dictionary, and it said miscellaneous. I just pointed to one word and it said miscellaneous.
Yeah.
So that's what our group became miscellaneous. So we just started going to the studio, performing, and we were all working jobs. Ryan and I were going to college. And then September 19th came, we were going to celebrate this is September 19th of 97, and we were going to celebrate our music project release. And we had the party September 19th, but it was really September 20th because it was after the club. And then I was at the house, and I just went outside to check the parking lot and just made sure that nobody was in the neighbors' yards and everything was cool and calm, Came back to the house. I was outside maybe for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then out of nowhere, someone pulls a gun. Pow, 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 pow. And the bullet hits me in the neck.
Yeah.
And I spin and I drop to the ground. And then now I'm not able to move from the neck down.
Yeah.
I'm not able to breathe. I'm not able to call out to someone for help. I'm not able to move. I'm not able to do anything but just lay there and just survive, struggle to survive. I can hear the chaos going on the outside of me. Someone's been shot, Eric's been shot.
Yeah.
And then I'm just holding on to survive. And before you know it, I'm getting transferred to the hospital. They drill 4 screws in my head, 2 in the front and 2 on the side of each ear, and it's a halo to stabilize the spine. And then they put tubes in my mouth. They intubate me because I'm not able to breathe on my own.
Yeah.
And then a feeding tube. And then I go in and out of consciousness, and I wake up in the morning and my mom, my stepdad's there, my dad, and my stepmom, and some medical staff and some friends and some family. That's where they tell you, you know, what happened. You've been shot. You know, you're paralyzed from the neck down. You're trying to move. You're like, well, you know, at the same time, it's definitely a shocker that you're not able to move, but then you're also trying to survive.
Yeah.
So, for 3 weeks, it was absolutely a nightmare. Every dream turned into a nightmare. I was not able to sleep. I didn't know who did the shooting. I was in there under an alias. It was chaos.
Yeah.
Every emotion you could practically phantom was happening. And then they realized that I wasn't going to breathe on my own again.
Yeah.
So they pulled the tubes and they gave me a trach.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a tracheotomy. So now I have a ventilator. Got this box. That's my life support. That's breathing for me. And then I got the halo on, so I'm only able to move my eyes. I'm not able to like move my head or nothing. I'm just in this big bird cage.
Yeah.
And then just trying to survive. That was the main thing was survival.
Yeah. And what did your rehabilitation from that must have been immense to like get to where you are today. And I know you've still had to have sort of other medical interventions even recently. You know, how has that all been for you and your sort of mindset as well?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the first goal you said is survival in the hospital, and then like you said, rehabilitation. So now you start learning about rehab because there's no book, there's no answers. You have to just find everything on your own. So you learn about this place called rehab, which is basically where you're going to go to this facility where you're going to have to like retrain everything. Yeah. Like it's like boot camp, you know? And because I was on a ventilator, the rehab facilities that were local were not the same state, we're taking states surrounding too. Yeah. They didn't have any beds open for ventilator patients. Yeah. But so we heard about Craig Hospital out in Inglewood, Colorado. And they specialize in getting people off the ventilator. Yeah. And so someone came out and flew out, did an assessment on me, and said, we think we can get them off the vent. So we made that decision to go there for rehab. So October 29th, I'm getting on this little matchbox looking jet, you know, it's just me and my mom, my grandma, and the respiratory therapist and the pilot. That's all we could fit on there. Yeah. And I'm still on the stretcher. I'm laying on the stretcher bed, you know, and then we fly out to Inglewood, Colorado, and that's where the rehab starts. You know, rehab starts like basically everybody's going to come in your room. They're going to do like a check on you, an assessment, you know, the doctors, and they're going to put their equipment. They're going to take all the other equipment out that you use at the hospital. So they switched out the trach and all the stuff. They said, no, this is the stuff we use. So then that's what they do. And then the respiratory therapist comes and turns the ventilator off. Says, okay, we're going to wean you off the vent. They put a pulsometer on you so you can see your oxygen level. Yeah. Then they just turn it off, cold turkey, 30 seconds. Oh. So you're like, I don't know if I'm breathing or not breathing. You don't know. Yeah. But there was biofeedback because of the O2, the pulsometer, that lets you know you are breathing. And then they turn it back on and they say, all right, you did great. We'll be back and we'll do it again for a minute. Oh, so it's like, okay. And so that's how, so you learn real fast. They don't mess around. Yeah. They don't play. They didn't play. This isn't summer camp. This is for you to get better. And you don't have a lot of time. Yeah. So they let you know. It's also they do make it fun. Yeah. But it's also you're there to work. Yeah. You're there to work. You're there to work your body. Yeah. You're there to do physical therapy. You're there to do occupational therapy. Arms, legs, everything. You're also there to learn what it's like in your new self. Yeah. What's it going to be like? How can you direct care? How can you tell someone to take care of you? How can you know about accessibility,
Yeah.
advocating, all this stuff. So there's a lot to learn. I mean, everything that you need to know about you before we send you out to the world again. So basically, you're on another planet for a while. I don't know what planet I was on, but I was somewhere, and then they prepare you for the real world of how it is now.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the goal right now is to get off the ventilator.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it was. And then um, throughout the process, one of the good things too that happened, there was a chaplain that came in that pray,
Yeah.
and he was asking me like, do you forgive who or whom did this to you? And I said yes, but you couldn't hear me audibly because I had no voice yet,
Yeah.
but my mouth and everything. And so that really, it's probably like one of the biggest moments of my life.
Yeah.
Giving forgiveness for who did this or whom. Could have been more than one person. It was kind of like, I've explained this a lot of times, where you have like an anchor, and you have your ship, and you can cut that cord,
Yeah.
and then just let your ship sail, and allow you to work on you too. Then that situation will never hurt you ever again.
Yeah.
Because they're away from you.
Yeah.
Forgiven's given. I'm away from that. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
No, and exactly. What I was so interested in is how you've used this experience and, trauma and, forgiveness to sort of lead you to what, to present day. Because I know you're doing a lot, you're doing sort of campaigning. You also provide employment opportunities, people with disabilities through your businesses. Mm-hmm. So, how do you think that's sort of shaped you as the leader, as the business owner of today?
I think that everything that you experience in life, from the time you're born, when into your adulthood, some little part's going to come back and play. And you're going to be able to take that experience, what you learned maybe 20 years ago, and then finally put it into action. Yeah. You're like, wait, here it is. Oh, yeah. And I think it builds you, so when you come across tough challenges, you've already overcome, you learn how to get over these challenges. So, once I went home, the question is, what are you going to do? Yeah. How are you going to live? How are you going to support yourself? How are you going to support anything? How are you going to have a family? How are you going to work? All those questions, and you have to learn your resources. What's available in your city, your community? What resources are there? And you got to be able to say, I need help. Yeah. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to do it all myself because I am so well-powered. No, you need help to help you figure that out, You have to ask for help. People, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help, So you learn your resources, and then you start putting plans together and goals. What do you want to do? Yeah. You're going to live at your mom and stepdad's house forever, or you're going to move out and get an apartment or a house. Yeah. I started when I met Mr. Zelli at the Disability Network. When I came home, he put me in place to where I could start hiring my own staff. So basically, I became a CEO of my life, overnight. So I started hiring caregivers. I started learning how to do schedules. Started learning how to do interviewing, and doing the interviewing questions, the interviewing process, hiring and firing people when you had to. Yeah. Letting, the hard, stuff that you don't want to do. They were the acting fiduciary, so I didn't have to balance things. I had to make sure the hours were appropriated to what I was allowed. Yeah. So not going over the hours. Mm. The same time I went back to the music stuff. I tried to open a record label, and that didn't work out very well. And then I stopped that. And then I started writing for an entertainment newspaper, yeah. But it was music and entertainment. And I use Dragon Naturally Speaking. So I type with my voice. Yeah. That's how I type. So that was called the Promoter Newspaper. And I did that for about 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. And there I built a relationship with the industry of music, with music artists and stuff, not just in Michigan, but all over the world. at the same time, internet is now starting to be more popular. MySpace is starting to come out now. So the social media is starting, the platforms are starting to emerge. And then the paper closed down. I was like, what am I do next? And I started doing some mentoring. But then the grant that paid for that got chopped.
Yeah.
So then I was like, what am I going to do again? So I opened up an internet radio station. So I tried internet radio, and I got a blanket license through Live 365. And then I started getting shows all over the world. So I would reach out on MySpace. Hey, I got a radio station. I got the platform. Let's put a show together, and I'll look it over, and we'll develop a show. And we had them everywhere, from Australia, Africa, Europe, all that stuff. Yeah, we had them all over. And then internet radio was in trouble. The royalty rates were changing, so here I am. I'm going to Washington, D.C. to introduce the Internet Radio Equality Act to save internet radio. So I'm going between House and Senate and talking to everyone and getting this radio bill introduced. And we got it did get introduced and it passed.
Yeah.
But then the royalty rates found a loophole months later, and then it was too expensive. So I had to shut my radio station down. So then it was like, what do I do next? And that's where I went back to my childhood dream, which another, was a thing. It's not just music, but also having my own clothing line.
Yeah.
And I wanted to open up my own t-shirt business. And some of the services I received, called supportive employment through community mental health, would help me start a business, and also get a person that works in the business, which they're called job coaches.
Yeah.
And so somebody I already knew, relationship that I built in the last 15 years or so. She already had a t-shirt company back in the day. And so I went to her, and she works for Goodwill, and Goodwill's contracted with community mental health for supportive employment. So I said, hey, I want to do the t-shirt business. And so that's what we did. We started working on the business plan.
Yep.
And letting people read it, and then getting the feedback, and then rewriting the business plan until I've had something solid. Now I need investment. What am I going to do? At one time, I was going to do a movie, like a movie sponsorship. So like people could spend like $100. They would get the movie and a dinner and limo. Yeah. Or something like that. And the restaurant was going to provide the food, so it didn't cost me anything. The limo service was going to provide the limo service, and the movie theater was going to give me the movie tickets. Yeah. I had to raise a certain amount of capital to start the business. So that was that was the original plan. But then my friend Ziad, who's the president of the D-Man Foundation, which we'll get to in a little bit, I let him read the business plan. Well, he already owns multiple businesses, and he liked it, and it was solid. He was like, instead of like investing, I want to be a business partner. So then that's how the business Easy Awareness by Design started, which stands for Eric and Ziad, Bring Awareness by Design. And that was in summer of 2011, sorry. Yeah. Summer of 2011. And then we needed a location, and Goodwill just happened to be opening an incubator space. So we did a tour, and we worked out something with rent. Yeah. With Goodwill for like first 6 months was rent free, and then it would cost me double. I'd have to pay for that for the next 6 months. Yeah. With the regular rent. So I had 6 months to make it happen, and then before you know it, November 2011, we're opening the doors to Easy Awareness by Design. Yeah. Originally it was just supposed to be T-shirts, but the equipment that we had, we started learning we could do more. Yeah. Like make signs, make banners, make decals, try to do big, gigantic signs that restaurants have that are in the air. We learned how to do that too. That was hard because I didn't have the equipment, but I had the know-how. Yeah. And I was subcontracting to get them done. Mm-hmm. So that's where Easy Awareness started.
Yeah. And one thing I'm sort of quite interested in, you've mentioned quite a lot that makes me think these have been factors to your success, like your connections. You're obviously very sort of determined and just inquisitive. But what would you say has been the sort of biggest factor in your success overall in business?
Always finding the how.
Yep.
So never saying can't. Always finding the how. How can I get it done? How can I get from point A to point B?
Yep.
How can I get this business going? How can I get the business plan going? How can I purchase this? How? So I would say that would be the biggest.
Yep.
You know, keeping the how going, because
Yeah.
when you say can't, then it's over with. You've already kind of destroyed that. You know, you just basically self stopped yourself. You know, but when you say how, how is that like it's always an open thinking. It's kind of like it's growing. You know, it's not closed. So it's like, how do I get there? How do I get this done? How do I get to this 23 podcast shows? How do I get to, you know, to have a trademark?
Yeah.
So all that, because you're constantly searching and doing research and homework while you're trying to find the how.
Yeah.
And I think that we use the how all the time. I mean, if you're going to go to the store right now, how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
I think your brain automatically starts calculating the how. Oh, you know, should I take the car? Should I take public transportation? Should I just walk? It's a nice day. You know, all those things. So
Yeah.
you're already doing the how. So that's kind of, I would say that's the biggest.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of thinking back over your sort of business life, over your experiences and your charity work and everything, if you could sort of start it all over again, what would you do differently, if anything?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I would do it all the same.
Good.
Nothing. I would do it all the same because you don't realize like going back and just changing one little thing can not just change stuff for you, but you're changing stuff for other people.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know if you go back and change the past that one going from right to left,
Yeah.
and you just now have made a person go and drive in a vehicle and they get in a car accident and die? You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like you've altered the way things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
You just got to let things play out, as tough as it is, as the good and the bad. And think about all the things that you've done afterwards since the shooting too.
Yeah.
Think of all the things you've accomplished, all the people you've met. You wouldn't have met those people maybe.
Yeah.
Those are people that are in your life. So you could have, the shooting might not have happened, and then what would have happened? We would have signed a record deal and got really sad and depressed and, you know, and went off the deep end or something.
Yeah.
And we're unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, that could have happened, or it could have been another, you know, but there's just so much that's happened afterwards where you shouldn't change the past.
Yeah.
You know.
I totally agree. And I'm a true believer in, going through really tough stuff and really like life-changing stuff. It makes you the person you are today. It makes you sort of resilient. It makes you questioning in a different way, or determined, really steely determination, which I can tell you've got. And sort of one of the things, I'm sure you seem to me like someone that sort of makes your own advice, but a question for you is, what's been the best piece of advice that you've received about sort of success in business?
I think there's a few things. Making goals.
Yeah. Writing
out your goals. Planning. Writing out your planning, which of course when you are on disability, when I came home, I was able to get on self-determination.
Yeah.
And part of self-determination, we have person-centered planning. So I'm kind of used to planning, and you have to plan because you have to have a backup plan, a backup plan, a backup plan. So planning, goals, doing your homework, doing your homework, researching, make sure that you're prepared, make sure that, but then the other thing, don't wait for it to be perfect.
Yeah.
just do it, and then perfect it
Yeah.
as you go with it. So if you were going to start a podcast show, I would say just do it.
Yeah.
Like kind of do a little bit of research. What platforms are you going to use? Talk to other podcasters. Do so much, but don't do like a year's worth of research. Do enough to where you're able to finally go swim in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, get off the beach and swim. You know, so that's the way I look at it. And then your first podcast is not going to be the greatest, and that's good. That's okay, because then you're going to look at it, you're going to study it, you're going to go, what worked, what didn't work, where's the strength, where's the weakness, this is how I'm going to do it better. And then before you know it, you're on 50 of them, and then you look back at the first one, you're like, wow, look how far I've came. You know, so
Yeah.
those are some of the advices that I would say for sure.
I think that's a great bit of advice, because so many people just wait until it's exactly researched and perfect, and then you just, you're wasting time in time that you could use carving and perfecting your art, basically. So
Yeah.
we've got a few minutes left before we need to wrap up, but I wanted to give you a chance to sort of mention the D-Man Foundation, which we said we would touch on.
Well, the D-Man Foundation stands for Danny's Miracle Angel Network, and that started after Ziad's brother passed away from complications of his spinal cord injury in August of 2009.
Yes.
So Z wanted to do something in legacy of his brother. His other brother, Calvin, is a hip hop artist. Danny always liked going to the recording studio, and they always loved music. So Z was going to build the first ever barrier-free music therapy recording studio. That was one of the goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I met him because I knew his cousin, and I was fundraising for a van.
Yep.
And then while I was fundraising for a van, his cousin she was like, contact this guy right here. And I was like, oh. So when I messaged him and I said, I'm supposed to contact you, such and such. And of course, he screened me for a while. This was in 2010.
Yeah.
Then finally, we Skyped each other. And then March 6th, we went to the Detroit Pistons game together and met each other in person. And that's where he told me about the D-Man Foundation. And I was like, I'm down. But it wasn't like for me to do music. It was for me like to help other people do music at that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about, I can go to the recording studio and do music again. I was thinking like, yeah, man, like let's do this. Let's help out some people. Yeah. So, and then we just had a lot of committee meetings. Then they had board meetings and stuff like that. And then another DJ producer from another recording studio came and brought his studio in with the D-Man, and so that's how they did a joint venture, and they opened up in the building that they are now. Wow. And then when that opened up, it was like, there's a barrier-free recording studio. You can make music with your breath, your eyes, tap switches. There's a lot of the things that are to your ability with the help of assistive technology. Yeah. And it's still growing, this is still growing. But eventually then he was like, when are you going to go record? When are you going to record? So I was like, oh yeah, I can record this again. So then I called my friend Kian that we rapped with and we did songs with back in the 90s. And I was like, yo, I'm going to go to the studio again, man. He was like, all right, about time. So he came over and we started writing lyrics and just kind of like brought me up to speed, like kind of brought it back again, like a writer's block that wasn't there, but it kind of was there.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, just going to the recording studio and I'm recording songs again. And then 17 years later, I'm on stage performing again.
That is fantastic. And I've seen some of your videos, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm performing again. Yep. And it's like, here I am, on stage again and performing music. And it was just like, it was amazing, to be able to do it again. And then instead of going to concerts, where my friends were performing, I actually was able to now be on, the concert too.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you know, you're gonna perform with us? Yeah, I am. That's, you know, because before I was sitting the sidelines,
Yeah.
you know, sitting there with my friends and they were performing
Mm.
and stuff. But and then I got to work with my friend Bangtown, and that's where we did the song "Beat My Belly Like a Bongo."
Oh, yeah, I
That
saw
was
that one.
that was fun. That was fun. It was great to work with him too. I've been wanting to work with him since like the '90s. So, you know, to work with him finally.
Yeah.
And then yes, I mean, I was able to come back full swing and
Yeah.
do music again. I don't have a set goal, or I don't have like a, oh, I'm gonna have this project out by then.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it because I love it.
Mm.
I just, you know, I like to do the lyrics. I like to be able to perform. I like working with the beats. I just like the creativity of it, you know, just the
Yeah.
whole creative process. And that's what I'm there for. And then to help the other people that are in there, you know, kind of mentor them and stuff, be their bigger brother
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But
I think
yeah, so
it's
that's,
been fantastic that you've been able to be part of that bit, sort of building of that amazing studio that just sounds so cool. And, you know, totally removing those barriers to people to, you know, why shouldn't people with, you know, disabilities be able to produce music and, you know, in the way that suits them. So, you know, it's fantastic. And I hope that sort of technology continues to improve, that will enable more people to sort of access that. So that's
yeah.
fantastic. So, I mean, you're involved in so many different things. If we want to point people to, where's the best place for people to come to find out about you and all the different things that you're working on? What website or platform is the best?
I would Google me first. Google Eric Patrick Thomas.
Yep.
That's the first thing I would do. And then my social media, you know, is under Eric Patrick Thomas,
Yep.
except Twitter's Eric P. Thomas. And then Inspire is under Inspire Shirt,
Yep.
except Instagram's Inspire Shirt #1. And then the website, inspireshirt.com. You know,
Brilliant.
yeah, I would just
I'll make
say,
sure your links are
any,
included so people can buy the shirts, buy the hats and signs.
yes, yeah, that
You
would be
ship
awesome. But
internationally?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and then you know, if anybody buys them, take pictures
Yeah.
and send them to us so we can put you on the website. We'll get, you know, pictures, like do like whatever you're doing, like in lifestyle photos, like
Yeah.
in the moment of the action of the lifestyle. So if
Yeah.
it's Nurses Inspire and you're a nurse, then take some photos while you're in the moment of being a nurse and the things
Yeah.
you do, you
Brilliant.
know. So
Well, we're just starting to open up our lockdown here finally, in time for Christmas. So hopefully we can get a lot more UK pictures for your website. So don't forget to send
yeah,
them over to the brand and feature on their website. So Eric, it's been an
yeah,
absolute delight to talk to you and talk about all your amazing ventures. And, you know, there's still more to learn. Maybe we can sort of touch base in a year or two, see where you are.
yeah, right, yeah, that'd be great. I just raised money for a new van. It took 30 months to fundraise.
Yeah.
That was called the We Drive to Inspire, and that's on YouTube. When I got the van that day, and now I'm on another campaign called We Live to Inspire, because I'm going to raise money to get a new house, to
Wow.
to uh, to move out of this house into another one. I'm renting right now, so
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next step.
Brilliant. So yeah, we will make sure all the links are included, and people can come and check out your progress. So thanks so much, Eric, for joining me. It's fantastic to have you here. And
Yeah,
and for the listeners here today, if you join me for the next episode, I'm joined by Daniel Geffen, who's the founder of Podbooker and also the Geffen Media Group, which is one of the first podcast booking agencies. And he's also a podcast host called Can I Pick Your Brain? So it'd be good to get him in the guest seat for a change rather than the podcast interviewer seat. And this is a podcast where he interviews billionaires and world-class leaders. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if you're inspired by Eric's journey, check out the links. But also, if you'd like to book in a call with me, you can head over to sparksucceed.co.uk. So once again, Eric, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a delight.
yeah, and that's how we got together too. That's how we found each
Exactly.
other.
Pop
So
booking.
that's awesome. That's gonna be that have to be a story to tell them. Say, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, thanks so much and have a great day, Eric.
You too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.